Debbie and I over the weekend were in Dallas. We're actually visiting our little granddaughter, Marigold, and it was just a wonderful experience and so much fun. And yet this was the time, I'm thinking Saturday, when the Ken Paxton vote was going down. And we had talked about it, of course, Friday on the podcast, and we kind of had our thoughts about it. Debbie tends to be a little more pessimistic than me, so she's like, I don't know how this is going to go down. There's a little too many rhinos, if you will, in the Texas legislature. Now, she does know that the Texas Senate is more conservative than the House, and so she knew that Paxton certainly had a fighting and a good chance, better chance than the Senate. Whereas in the House, the remarkable thing is that you have Texas representatives, even from conservative districts, who voted to impeach Paxton. And that may seem like a bit of a puzzle, but I think it reflects the power that the Texas Speaker, Dade Phelan, has. This was a guy who was able to kind of strong-arm people who are even in conservative districts to, in effect, not represent their constituents and go after Paxton. And, of course, the pretext here was this man is just guilty of outright corruption and so on. So the big question in this trial was where's the outright corruption? What did Paxton actually do? And as the trial unfurled, it became really obvious that about the only thing that this guy did was take up with a woman who's not his wife, something he should not have done, but not something that is either illegal and not something that is also impeachable. And of course, they couldn't say, we're trying to impeach you for that. So they had to say, well, no, we had to impeach you because in order to please the donor who hired this woman so that she could come closer to Austin, you got some new countertops in the process. You got some new countertops for the kitchen. And, of course, in the trial, Tony Busby was representing Paxton, handled this beautifully. He shows a picture of the countertops and he goes, when you were at Paxton's house and apparently Mrs. Paxton was talking about the fact that she wants new countertops, was this the way that the kitchen looked at that point? And the guy goes, yeah, that's exactly how it looked. And then Busby goes, well, this photo was taken a month ago. In other words, Ken Paxton did not get new countertops. So if the whole point of your case is that this guy got a benefit, he got new countertops, and all you have is that his wife was talking about getting new countertops that evidently weren't. So this was just ridiculous. I mean, it was laugh out loud dumb. And the only question was, sometimes something can be super dumb and yet guilty, 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 guilty. And so there were 16 counts. This is really what worried me a little bit because I thought to myself, well, this is really kind of the same strategy that they're using against Trump. What is it? It's basically hit him with charges left and right. 91 different counts. Because the idea here is that we're sure to get him on something. If a jury is going down 21 counts, and even if someone thinks the whole case is BS, in some ways it's almost human nature to go, well, maybe there's one thing that he did do. Maybe I'll, if only to make myself look fair-minded, maybe I'll go guilty on this one, although I'm going to go for acquittal on all the rest. And so this is really what I think the Paxton House managers who were pushing impeachment were hoping for, was that they would get a conviction on something, because a conviction on anything, on even one charge, would mean that Ken Paxton would be out and in effect his career would be over. But interestingly, when the votes were tallied, Ken Paxton won pretty decisively on every count. Now, some counts were closer than others, but on no count did the other side the guilty side get even a majority. And of course, they needed more than a majority. They needed 21 out of 30. They needed a 2/3 majority. And so this is a pretty clear vindication for Ken Paxton. Now, if you look at the news reports, you would think that this was not a trial about facts, because all the articles about it are like, well, this trial is a kind of microcosm or a metaphor for the debates within the Republican Party. Well, be that as it may, and sure enough, there are some rifts in the Republican Party between the establishment. Paxton is more of a MAGA figure. There are some very moderate Republicans who have never liked him, but a trial should be, and the core of it is about what's the really bad thing that this guy actually did. And when you looked at the evidence, it was very clear that there were suspicions of this and allegations of that, and I was worried about this. But what was really worrisome was the plotting on the part of these so-called whistleblowers. Things like, let's cook up something against Paxton. Let's line up a bunch of scenarios to see what we can get him on. And they lay out like 7 possible. You can get him on this, and if that doesn't work, try to get him on that. So the real villain here is not Paxton. The real villain here are some of the really bad guys who plotted to get rid of him. If aches and pains are your problem, Relief Factor is your remedy. Debbie and I started taking Relief Factor a couple of years ago, and what a difference we've seen in our joints. Nothing short of amazing. Aches and pains are totally gone thanks to this 100% drug-free solution called Relief Factor. How does it work? Relief Factor supports your body's fight against inflammation. That's the source of aches and pains. More than 1 million people have tried Relief Factor. About 70% have gone on to order more because it works for them. Debbie's a true believer. She can now do the exercises that for a long time she wasn't able to do. So Relief Factor has been a big game changer for her, her aunt, other members of our family, Mike here in the studio, and for many other people. You too can benefit. Try it for yourself. Order the 3-week quick start for the discounted price of just $19.95. Go to relieffactor.com or call 800-4-RELIEF to find out more about this offer. The number to call, 800-4-RELIEF, or go to relieffactor.com. Feel the difference.